Hello and welcome to the Friday edition of Outnumbered. It's a beautiful day. I'm so excited. One thing that I never stop doing is being excited. I must be excited and I will always be excited. This is the review for this morning, and we're reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and joining me is Michael and Sadatu. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ramsey.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
The Punch newspaper is where I'm starting from, and I'm starting with a good news. The good news is this: Dangote refinery begins petrol production. All right, production test anyway. It's a test run. Well, from the test run, I know the major production is going to get started. Dangote refinery begins petrol production test run. Details on page 21. Tinubu cuts short France trip, Suez in CJ end today. Details read on page 7. Then this one says the big story now. Landowners sue federal government over 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar highway. To write us to that story, Umahi vows to continue project, insists government paying compensation. All right. They are supposed to be compensated. I take that again. Umahi vows to continue project, insists government paying compensation. Then the second rider says federal government rules out new roads in 2025. Plans to complete existing projects. There are projects already ongoing and some are stagnant. Needs to be completed before other ones come on. Page 2 is where you get that story. And moving away from there, 6 NSAS protesters freed after 4 years in detention. Details read on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Minister writes Finance Ministry over Sanu Nasu with head salaries. Details read on page 29, and that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning. You can as well pick up a copy if any of the stories interest you. Over to you, Sadatu.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Let's take a look at Daily Sun newspaper and all the headlines that come with it. So the first headline says, Nigeria must adopt Okpara model to prosper. I take that again. Nigeria must adopt Okpara model to prosper, says Ozodima. Detail read on page 27 of the Daily Sun newspaper. And then the big story says, senior lawyers urge new CGN to clean rods in judiciary. I take that again. Senior lawyers urge new CGN to clean rods in judiciary. And then there's one rider to that story that says, Ariwola out, Kekere Edu in. And then the last headline I would take for the Daily Sun says, flying to health row, Air Peace missed true submission deadline, says ACL. For further reading, do well to grab a Daily Sun newspaper. Over to you, Michael.
Oh, thank you. We'll move straight to the Nigerian Tribune today. The first news I'll take on page 7 is ICPC once again undermining Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. Power sector is the kicker of the story. On page 1, Minister mobs differential tariffs to stimulate demand. And one writer says grid connection, cheapest and most reliable. Away from that, Oweleke issues directive on food inflation, fuel prices, people's welfare on page 4. And the big story, the kicker, is Niger killings. Federal government orders security agencies to track foreign miners funding banditry. And writers to the story, bans mining to Shiruru site, vows to avenge killing of 12 miners. Those who think
there was a killing in Niger State yesterday.
Okay, it's
in
Niger State.
Shiruru, yes,
Niger State.
A lot of people were killed, women and children. It's all everywhere in the social media.
All right. So that's the last story I'll take on the Nigerian Tribune. Do where to pick a copy and enjoy. Back to you, Ramsey.
All right, let's get back to the Guardian newspaper this morning, where I want to begin with the big story. Insurgency in Northeast. Thousands in their streets of support dry up in border towns. Thousands in their streets as supports dry up in border towns. That's the big story. Details read on page 4 and 5. Then this one says, don't destroy PDP. Dele Momodu wants as parties' crisis worsen. Dele Momodu is the one warning. He said, don't destroy PDP. Dele Momodu warns as party's crisis worsen. Details read on page 6. Our federal government film as terrorists kill 12 adopts minors in Niger. Like my colleague said, CJ enters the kicker Tinubu to swear in Kekere Ekun as Ariwola retires. Details read on page 3. Court discharged 6 NSAS protesters after 4 years. Okay, details read on page 8. And finally, from here, Chinese firm continues seizure. Okay, seizure prey with another Nigerian jet in Canada. Another jet being seized again, now in Canada. Before the 3 that were seized, before now were seized in France.
To seize all our foreign assets.
Yesterday we heard that there are some assets that they are even pointing fingers to. We don't know yet, but this morning we're getting to know now that the seizure spree still continues with another jet now in Canada, meaning it's 4 now that has been seized. Well, let's see what the government is going to do about that. I think the president was supposed to be in France, but because of the swearing in of the new CJN, he's still around. Let's see what happens afterwards, and that's going to be the size of the big story of the newspaper review this morning. Okay, we've looked at the newspaper. Let's quickly get to the big story, and that's going to be after the break. When we return, we'll talk about the release of 6 NSAS protesters after 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleketv for a thrilling journey. Oweleketv, rising star at the fairground.
Welcome back from that break. It is still Outnumbered live on your screen, reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. Let's get to the big story now. You remember 2020, how it actually happened. It's a time that a lot of Nigerians will not forget in a hurry. Some persons were arrested, some were being released. Some people lost their lives because they were fighting, okay, for some form of maltreatment, as it's being claimed from the SARS, okay, the SARS. And yeah, that's police brutality. That's the word, brutality, police brutality. And SARS is part of police. Then yesterday, a Lagos State Magistrate Court sitting in Ogba has convicted 6 persons, and of course, as a matter of fact, yesterday they were released. And one very surprising thing is the fact that the difference of breach peace carries a punishment of the reason why they were actually sent to prison is for breach of peace. That they breached the peace of Lagos State, and Lagos State government took them to court, and at the end of the day they were convicted and sent to prison, and they spent 6 years in prison. Why did they spend 6 years? For a breach of what? Peace. And this is what it means. The offense of breach of peace carries a punishment of 3 months. But 3 months somehow, I don't know how it happens, ended up in 6 years.
4, I think.
Okay. Ended up in 4 years, right?
6 of them.
6 of them, okay. Yes. Ended up in 4 years, I beg your pardon. 4 years in detention. And as a matter of fact, they were supposed to pay 15,000 naira or spend 3 months, all right, in prison. That's what it's been stated here, all right. The offense, either 3 months imprisonment or a fine of 15,000 naira. So what happened? What happened to the judicial system?
Probably they don't have a good representative, a lawyer that will stand for them. But then the question is, these people, is it that they don't have families that could afford the 15,000 naira? And also, I'm looking at this with the whole crime that took place in the NSAS protests and the other drama that came with it. Is it that among all these people, it's just these 4 people that were apprehended. What happened to the other people that have infiltrated the peaceful protests? What about the other people that have, in one way or the other, disrupted the peace of the event? Where are those people? Why haven't they been brought to book?
The families that even lost their loved ones.
Their loved ones.
Was there any form of compensation?
So why these 6 people? I'm not supporting that. I don't know what they do, but why these 6 people? Where are the remaining people? And why did it take this long for them to release them? So there are still questions that need to be answered.
I think when some things happen, you begin to think of the judicial system. And thank God the senior lawyers are saying there are rots in the judicial system that the new CJN will need to at least sweep away. All right. And for people to spend 4 years as against 3 months, how I don't know.
That's long.
Why?
That's long.
What happened? It could be that nobody is even aware that these people are there, because there are lawyers who are even interested, in cases
but
like
they
this.
were brought in by the federal, by the state government. So definitely the state government should be aware that they are there. And then for them to spend from 3 months to 4 years, it means that, just like the lawyers have urged the new CGN, they need to do a total cleanup. A total revamping. Yeah,
a total revamping. Of course, the charge against these 6 persons. One other thing, that baffled me is the fact that, number one, it is the state government that took these people to court.
Yeah.
All right. Then the magistrate's court is in that same state, Lagos State. So I don't know. But then we were made to understand that some persons actually allegedly sponsored NSAS, sponsored the protest, because the reason for the protest is brutality, which was obvious. People came out with a lot of evidences. A panel was being set up. Why didn't this panel look at the fact that some persons were in detention, in prison, maximum prison for that matter? You understand? For 4 years. Kirikiri, where I think one of the papers said Kirikiri, it is something that is so alarming. However, the court set them free because they had spent more than the stipulated punishment in custody. Why should they? Don't, as it is right now, they have the right
to sue the federal, to sue the state government.
Because, yes. They were kept in custody. They were kept in prison.
But how did they want to do it? The same people that at least we saw that they said they could pay a fine of 15,000 naira, and yet they spent 4 years. So how did they want to take a
4 years? No, probably this is
somehow
it.
Friendly,
this is it.
Very serious.
Sometimes, let me tell you something. When NSAS happened, some persons were arrested. And their family didn't know where they were.
Oh my God.
Don't be surprised that probably, I don't know, I'm just saying, probably these families, these persons, maybe their family may have even forgotten about them.
But you could reach out to people.
You don't know.
You don't reach out to people. I know of that.
Probably.
You can even be given right to a lawyer. I know of
but
that.
In this case, we don't know if they actually had the opportunity to reach out to anyone. Because if they have people and even if they don't have people, there are lawyers, all right?
Standby lawyers.
So standby lawyers. There were people that took up other cases,
exactly.
All right? After the NSAS protest, there were people that took up other cases, And as a matter of fact, the way this thing has happened, I don't think this is a welcome development. Remember the End Bad Governance protest that just happened, as it is. The End Bad Governance protest that just happened. Some persons were arrested.
10 days, exactly.
Some persons were arrested. This thing shouldn't repeat itself. This situation shouldn't repeat itself.
I think it's a right of a citizen to protest, peaceful protest. It is a right of a citizen to protest peacefully. But these days, we have reverse of that case.
Especially the End Governance protest, that notice was even given.
You just start seeing other things, and before you know, people get arrested here and there. But I don't want to believe that these people don't have families, or they didn't reach out to their families. Probably their families have been crying for help here and there, and even with the 15,000 naira. even with the 15,000 naira. They might have been crying, but something is fishing out there that we don't really know and we can't really say.
Well, I think you can just jump on the channel, drop your comments. If you're a barrister, if you're a lawyer, and maybe an activist, you can actually drop your comments. There are so many things happening that people don't know. You know, some persons don't know their rights. They don't know what to do. Some persons are in custody. Some persons are in prison. They don't even know how they can reach out to their people. I know, and you know how sometimes they move people from one prison to the other. You know, we don't know. In case there are certain things you feel people need to know, you can just drop it on the channel. What are we talking about today? We're talking about the release of 6 NSAS protesters who have spent 4 years in prison. Michael, do you have anything to say?
I know you guys have said it also. It's just for the law to take its full course, and they were detained during the protest that happened at Oweleke in 2020, November 2023, and then it happened to a lot. I have personal experiences which I won't share, but they've been released. Tamper justice with mercy, as TD Ojeshino said. The defense counsel, they spent more than the stipulated years, 3 months to 4 years. Right now, outrageous and unscrupulous. What can we say?
Well, as it is, Nigerian is our country. It's our country, and the right to protest is there, like Sadato have said. But as it is right now, I think what the people should do is, anytime you're going for protest, I think this End Bad Governance protest, I think even before they went for the protest, it was announced, and we have some lawyers who were actually part of it. Yeah. I think the person that was even speaking for the protesters, he was interviewed on live television, and he was saying, because they were subjected, those in Abuja were subjected to just Moshood Abiola Stadium, and he was interviewed. Okay, and he said so many things before they even left Moshood Abiola Stadium. No, for Abuja.
Abuja was Eagle Square.
No, they moved from Moshood Abiola Stadium to Eagle Square. Okay. Then they were accosted at the 3 amps zone where tear gas was being thrown and all of that. So what we're trying to say is, people that were arrested during the End Bad Governance protest should be given attention. The law should take its course, since they were given the opportunity to protest, except something different was being done. So if you're a lawyer and maybe custodian of the law, do what you can to make sure these people are being released. Amnesty International, the civil society organizations, and every other human rights activist out there. I think we should try all we can do to make sure nobody spend excessive time in prison just because they protested lawfully. All right. This is the size of the big story on Outnumbered this morning. It's been a wonderful day. We'll come on your way again, and that's going to be on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Bye-bye for now.